Hi, it's Ben from My Cycling Coach. I hope you're well and that you're having a great day. Just out on a training ride this morning. As you can see, glorious conditions again today in the mountains. This is actually a reservoir which is about halfway up one of the climbs that I'm using today to perform my training ride, my session. I'm focusing on trying to get some quality threshold intervals in today as part of my training ride. And this is actually something that I wanted to talk to you about in today's video, as I often get asked by cyclists about the best session that they can do to improve their hill climbing, increase their FTP, increase their ability to, hold sustained efforts at a higher power output. This might also be as part of, group and club rides, having to do turns on the front, or just being able to obviously keep up on hill climbs or as part of a particular route that you might be doing. Quality threshold sessions are one of the best ways to improve some of the things that I've mentioned there. Your ability to sustain higher power outputs for around a 10 to 60 minute period, which obviously if you can improve this is going to be very useful for some of the things that I've mentioned there. So I've got 3 tips for you today on how you can start to use threshold sessions if you're not already doing some of them, or to improve the quality of your threshold sessions. If you're not doing any threshold work as part of your week or your training, then I really would recommend that you maybe just start to incorporate one ride where you are trying to do some riding at threshold if you are looking to improve some of those things that I've mentioned: hill climbing, improve your FTP, and just your overall riding really. So tip number 1 then is just to really dial in on the intensity. So threshold, when we're riding in our threshold zone or developing that threshold zone, you want to be riding at between sort of 91 to 105% of your threshold power, or 95% to 105% of your threshold heart rate. So depending on how you track your session intensity, whether you use power or heart rate, those are the zones that you want to be riding at. So get that dialed in. If you're in that zone, that's going to allow you to start getting those adaptations from riding at those intensities and the benefits that are associated with them. Tip number 2 then is the duration of maybe your threshold intervals. So intervals are a great way to obviously structure the threshold session. You can really then dial in on riding in that zone for a given time period and really focus on trying to maintain the quality there. So threshold interval lengths can be anything from 10 to 60 minutes. I would probably advise that you aim for more sort of the 10 to 30 minute length of interval. Obviously, again, the intensity that you're riding at within the ranges that I've mentioned there can also determine the length of the interval. So obviously, the shorter the interval length, you will be able to ride at the higher end of that threshold intensity range. The longer the interval length, you will need to just bring that down. But as long as you're in the range there, those durations of, as I say, 10 to 30 minutes will allow you to get in there and really target that threshold power. Tip number 3 then are just some examples of what sessions that you can do. There's 2 classic ones out there. My best advice would be, when doing threshold work, is you just really try to keep it as simple as possible. So even just riding, as I mentioned there, you may do 10-minute interval lengths or 10, 15-minute interval lengths. Normally when we're doing these, we will use a 1 to 2 work ratio. So for every minute that you're working in that threshold intensity, you will then take 2 minutes to recover. I would certainly recommend doing this if you haven't really got much experience of doing any structured training or any sort of threshold training, as this is just going to allow you to get used to riding in that zone, but also have adequate recovery to make sure that you can go back into each interval, hit that target power, and then maximize those adaptations and benefits from the session. So build out some blocks, as I say, with those durations that I've mentioned. Use that recovery, focus on hitting that intensity. Another classic threshold session, just to give you one other example, you may have heard of them before, over-unders. This is where they're normally around 5 minutes in length. You'll ride 5 minutes at sort of the higher end of your threshold. So that's closer to the 105% maybe of threshold power or heart rate. And then you will do a 5-minute under, which will be at the lower range, so closer to either that 91% of threshold power or 95% of threshold heart rate. And then you may do, 5 minutes over, 5 minutes under, repeat this twice. then have a bit of a recovery period in the middle, where you may do 10 to 15 minutes or even longer in an active recovery zone, and then you'll repeat another maybe 2 or 3 over/under sections there to get back in and again target some real good quality time in that threshold zone. So yeah guys, just some examples there. Get asked that question a lot. Threshold sessions are a fantastic way to improve your hill climbing, improve your ability to sustain those higher power outputs, and also improve your FTP and just become more versatile with your riding, improving that overall all-round power and fitness. If you found this video useful guys, as always, please feel free to drop a like on the video. Any comments, as always, would love to hear from you, and please follow, share or subscribe to the channel to receive our most up-to-date content. Have a great rest of your day, enjoy your riding, and speak soon.